Good evening, everybody. Chris and Tiffany here with High Seas Cruising. See, we got people already here. Awesome. Well, we're here tonight to talk about our Alaska cruise on board the Discovery Princess. We just got back. Well, essentially, it was Monday morning, and it was about 1 a.m. in the morning. But we got back on Sunday, and man, worth it. Totally worth it.
I'm ready to go back.
Yeah, Tiffany's already ready to go back. Well, hello, everybody. Linda, Andre, welcome to the show. But yeah, hello, Dale. Yeah, I honestly cannot say enough good things about Alaska. I think Alaska may be my new favorite place to go that we've ever been.
Maybe.
I mean, the Caribbean's nice. The swimming, the snorkeling, the fish. Caribbean has a lot to offer, but
They don't have bears.
we didn't even see any bears.
We saw whale.
We did see whales. We definitely did see some whales. We saw a lot of orca.
Yes.
A lot of killer whales. A whole butt ton of those guys.
Yes.
Good evening. Everybody jumping in here real quick. Give it a couple minutes before we get too far into it here.
Tom says, hi guys, going on Discovery in August. Look forward to more videos from you all.
Yep, the very first embarkation day will actually be out tomorrow afternoon, and that'll be our first ones that we're actually on board the ship if you want to see the Discovery Princess herself. And yeah, the full ship tour and everything like that will also be out prior to you going, kind of give you a heads up about the Discovery Princess. And we'll talk about Discovery Princess. She has way more pluses than she did minuses. And her minuses were just teeny tiny ones, to be honest with you.
So, I'm not sure how to say that. Nicomancer?
Let's see, Nicomancer.
They're going to Alaska next May, one way southbound.
Are you guys doing a cruise tour ahead of time or just flying to do the southbound?
And then just Cody says, good evening. Glad y'all had a blast. I look forward to episode 3.
I'm trying to put this without sounding like I'm full of myself, but when the videos get into Ketchikan and the nature stuff, wow.
Yes.
That's all I can say. I had the opportunity to film some of what the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life, and I can't wait for you guys to see that stuff.
Dilly says, love Alaska, been twice. Our third trip scheduled for 2022 was COVID canceled. Yeah.
Yes. So was ours.
And then Andre, do y'all think guy that fell off the Magic was leaning too much or was push off?
Honestly, on that particular one, and I did a news story about that. I don't really know. The ship checked the security tape, and they confirmed he did fall off his balcony about 4:10 in the morning. I guess the only kind of question that's come up about that is they confirmed he fell off at 4:10 a.m., but he wasn't reported missing until later on Monday afternoon. And they said travel companion, so, that could mean a multitude of things. Could mean this wasn't even somebody in his cabin. But then there was a story today that said he was traveling with his fiance. So I assume they would have been in the same cabin. So still curious about why it took so late to report that. But I don't have any facts about that. And the video didn't, according to the cruise line, didn't show her, push him off.
Okay. Nico Manser said just the cruise. Tom Brooks said, did you stay warm? The average temperature was about 50, so just long sleeves, a light jacket, and once in a while we wore our beanies.
We wore our beanies in Ketchikan.
Yeah.
It was chilly that morning in Ketchikan, but once we started hiking and we climbed up some mountains and some other stuff we did, most of the time the hats, the jackets, and all that were gone. So pretty much, just a light long sleeve shirt, and then our jackets were waterproof. We got sprinkled on twice the whole cruise, and it was just a light little sprinkle.
Alaska's beautiful. Have done the southbound and round trip from Seattle.
Did you do the glacier tour? No. We actually did not do any excursions on this cruise at all. Being our first time to Alaska, we like to kind of explore the port areas, explore the towns. So we just walked all around Ketchikan. We walked around Juneau. We walked around Skagway. I mean, we did some stuff like on our own. We went up the tram in Juneau, did the Apache Trail on the top of the mountain. We went out to, what was the name of the falls in Skagway?
Reed Falls.
Yeah, we went out to Reed Falls in Skagway.
And the cemetery.
And the Golden
Nugget
Cemetery. But we did all that stuff just on our own. We just had some maps and off we went. And we'll do that the first time with a lot of our cruise ports just to kind of get a feel for the place, to get an idea, kind of mix and mingle with the locals without it being something that's an excursion. Because the couple of excursions we saw, just around the area where we were, like there were excursions going out to Reed Falls. Well, I mean, we just went over there by ourselves. Didn't cost us anything. People were paying an excursion to take them out there. And it seemed like no sooner than they got there than they were shooing them right back on the bus. They weren't even really getting the time to enjoy it. And we've had that in past excursions where it's like, okay, we want to spend more time doing this, but they have a time schedule, bam, 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 and they want you to be where they want you to be, and then of course they got to drop you off at the shopping locations. It seems like that happens each and every time, especially in the Caribbean. A lot of times we'll do it on our own just to do what we want, I guess, without someone else dictating our timetable, with the exception, of course, being all aboard time. That's always a time dictator right there. And that's normally how I do it, but we saw a lot of stuff. We went a lot of places and saw the stuff we wanted to see the first time all by ourselves.
Did we see the lumberjack show?
We did not go inside. We just went to the building. When we were there, that would have been
Tuesday. It was the first day.
Okay, so that was Ketchikan. In Ketchikan, we went through Creek Street. We got a walking tour map from the visitor center of the city. We walked all of the tours, went and saw all the totem poles. And then right there, if you've been there before, you cross that bridge over into Creek Street. The river was flowing, a little waterfall. I mean, we spent a whole bunch of time just standing there watching the water.
Yeah.
I mean,
and when we did get to the building for the lumberjack show, the line out the door was probably 50 people or so.
But we got there later in the afternoon because we left Ketchikan at 2:30. So by the time we got over in that area, it was about 12. The line was pretty long at that time.
So, SF Love Boat Cruising. I booked shuttle to Mendenhall Glacier and took my time walking to the falls, etc.
Yeah, that's the trail up there. What do you tell us the name of that trail? The Nugget Trail?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a real nice trail up there where the Mendenhall Glacier is. You follow the Nugget Trail around, I guess, and there's supposed to be a really cool waterfall there. We heard about that when they talked about it while we were there, but we just didn't get to it this time. There's so much stuff to do. There's no way we're going to get to it all at once or on the first trip up there. But hey, it gives us an excuse to go back again, and again. So twist my arm, back to Alaska. We're just going to have to go.
Yes. Andre said, did we meet any Eskimos?
Yes. When we were riding the tram up, they had natives working on the tram. And don't get me lying but she was speaking in the native tongues, trying to teach us a couple things. It did not stick in my head, unfortunately. It was a little crowded inside the tram on the way up, so I was kind of a little bit claustrophobic in there, but yes, we did meet some of the local natives.
Ketchikan was my favorite self-guided tour, Creek Street Museum, etc.
Yeah,
we had a lot of fun on Creekside.
We did. Ketchikan it was just beautiful. Just to walk around, it was so beautiful.
Right.
And it's one of my favorite stops.
That's where we also talked to the local chocolatier.
Yes.
And she was so nice and just telling us a little bit about everything. And
Yeah, because we went into the candy store and it was Ketchikandy was the name of it.
Yes.
And it was really weird. There was a lot of people up on the main street going into the, I guess, the name brand stores more so than, a street back or so that had some more local stores on. So we went in the Catch a Candy store just because, we like candy, and it's locally owned, and there was nobody else in the store. So she was just telling us about Catch a Can and what's local and what's not, and all this other kind of stuff. So we got a pretty good education in Catch a Can too.
Yeah. Love Boat Cruising says, glad you did tram. It was a little scary at first for me, but it was all right.
I wasn't scared, but boy, they really, 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 they're proud of that tram. $50 each to ride that tram. Boy, they're proud of that sucker.
The crowds were intense. I've heard the crowds are intense this year. What was your experience? Yes, they were intense. When you pack 4 cruise ships into a little bitty town, there's more people getting off the ship than live in that town, and it was awful.
Well, yes and no. I would say yes and no. I do completely agree that they are overpacking, or it really feels like they're overpacking these cruise ports. Because Tiffany's right. By mid-afternoon to later in the afternoon, we'd have 4 cruise ships in port. Everybody trying to pile up and down the real touristy areas right there by the cruise ports. It was maddening the amount of crowds that were in there. And you couldn't even walk into a store. If you wanted to do any tourist shopping, once all 4 of those ships of people are off the ship, it was pretty bad. Now, we got kind of lucky in Ketchikan, Juneau, and Skagway because we got there super early each and every time. We were getting off the ship at 6 a.m. in those 3 ports. So when we got off super early, in Ketchikan and Skagway, we got off super early. Juneau, we didn't get off until the afternoon because we had the Endicott arm in the morning. So let me correct that. But those early mornings getting off in the cruise port, we could go hours before it got crowded.
Mm-hmm.
So if you knock that's kind of, if you want to do that touristy shopping stuff up front, do that first thing when you get off. Because a lot of people are not getting up and getting off the ship at 6:30.
We were getting off the ship at 6 o'clock in the morning, and the shops weren't open. They weren't opening till 9, 10 o'clock.
Some of them, and that was more in Skagway. Skagway was a little slower to open, but that's because.
Boat Cruising says, thank you, it was busy.
Yeah, and I understand that, they need the tourist dollars and everything else, and everybody wants to go to Alaska. I get it. But from a personal passenger standpoint, it is hard to enjoy. Skagway only has like 1,000 residents that live there. It's not very big. And when you dump 3 cruise ships full of people off in there, all at the same time, it gets very crowded very quickly, and then it becomes very hard to enjoy. When we were in Skagway, we were going to go over to the Red Onion, and the line was all the way out the door, and they said it was going to be like 45 minutes to even get into the Red Onion, and all we really wanted to do was take the tour. Weren't really interested in eating in there. We'd already eaten. We just wanted to do the tour. Couldn't even get in the door to get the tour. People were up front. They were pushing. They were shoving. And it was turning into an argument up there because it was just, it's not a big enough building. You can't fit hundreds and hundreds of people in there. But boy, they were trying to stuff themselves through the front door. It was a mess. And we ended up going, hey, these people are starting to push, shove, and argue. We're out of here. But I guess that's just an example. You put too many ships in one spot, and it does start to get a little bit congested. I don't know. I think maybe a better balance of passengers, hitting the places all at one time. Juneau's already said 5 cruise ships is the max, but that is still a lot of passengers.
Yeah.
So wouldn't kind of surprise me if maybe we see some, other cruise ports in that area doing the same thing in the future, because even some of the locals, the people working in the shops, they just looked overwhelmed at times.
California Linda shares there is a 50s diner near the small park in Ketchikan.
The small park, if you're talking about Whale Park, we were over there, and I bet you that's that place she was trying to send us that we never could find. someone had directed us to someplace that would have been over in that area near, or I think you're talking about the small park, the one that has the benches with the whalebacks that on Whale Park.
Do cruise ships still have assigned dining tables and table meats?
Yes. So it's all going to depend on the cruise line that you go on. A lot of them, and it depends which one you. So you're going to have early dining, you're going to have late dining, and you're going to have anytime dining. If you select a set dining time, let's say for an example, early dining time, which is 5:45, then you'll sit at the same table every night with the same wait staff. You may end up at a table that has other people. You can request a table just for two, and it's that way for early and late dining. If you get anytime dining, or it's a cruise line that does excuse me, like freestyle dining, they're just going to put you at whatever open tables available, and you may not have the same staff or table mates each night. Like when Tiffany and I cruise, we do anytime dining because you never know when we're going to get to the dining room. I mean, on the Discovery Princess, we never once made it to the dining room, so we don't take up a hard dining time, and we always request a private table for just her and I, because I have cameras and everything else at the dining room table, and I'm sure table mates, unless they know me and know what I'm doing, probably don't want me waving cameras around while they're trying to eat their dinner. So, but yes, they still do have that assigned dining if that's an option that you choose. But it's becoming less and less popular. Anytime dining exceeds 50% of the table requests on the majority of cruise ships that offer it now.
I asked for the same table every night, got a great table, tipped $5 per night.
Yeah, now you can have anytime dining, and if you have a specific table you like, and they can get you at that table every night, yeah, they sure will.
We had one cruise, I don't remember which one it was, where we had anytime dining, but we pretty much got put in the same table every night with the same waiter, except for the last night we were there.
That's the night they stuck us way over in the corner. Yeah, I remember that night. Yeah, and sometimes you get lucky with that too. So, but I want to back up a little bit, and I want to talk a little bit about Seattle, because it was our very first time in Seattle, and I would say Seattle has some pros, and Seattle has some cons. Seattle definitely has a couple of cons. Now, one, I didn't know Seattle was that hilly. It almost has hills like you would expect to see in San Francisco, but we actually learned all those hills are fake.
It's very interesting to know why Seattle is so hilly.
So all those hills you see in Seattle are apparently, this is what we were told, were built up by like landfill dirt and stuff like that to make them that way, because when Seattle was originally built, it was low and it was flat and it was closer to the water, and they put indoor plumbing in, and apparently fish would swim up the pipes, and you get up in the morning and you'd have fish in your toilet. So they had to raise Seattle up to make the pipes taller, to avoid having fish nibbling on your hiney first thing in the morning if you sat down when it was dark. So, yeah, that's why apparently Seattle is hilly.
California Linda agrees with Love Boat cruising.
They did play the Love Boat horn for us. Straight up, I was filming when it happened. So y'all will get to hear the horn in its entirety in the Skagway video. When we leave Skagway is when they played that song, and it was a surprise because I hadn't heard the ship's horn the entire time, and boom, they blasted the Love Boat theme song, and I happened to be recording the departure and got the whole thing. So I was pretty happy about that. It was pretty cool to hear it.
I didn't think they were allowed to do the horns, especially there. Suggested the underground tour when you're in Seattle, and the story of the crapper is very interesting.
I thought it was too. I thought it was just naturally a hilly location, and it was actually the tour. It was the bus driver who was taking us to the airport, was giving us a tour as we were going through the city, and he's the one that told us that story. He says, "Yeah, these hills are not natural."
Fish in the toilet, laugh out loud. That would be a moment walking up to that.
Yeah, but apparently, according to him, that is why Seattle has hills the way Seattle does. Because those hills were a bit surprised because, we do a lot of walking. So we get over to the hotel and we're like, okay, well, let's walk over to, to the market area and find out, yeah, you got some uphill walking to get there. We hit a couple of them. It's like, oh my God.
And a lot of stairs.
Yeah, and a lot of stairs to get up all that. That was a bit of a surprise.
Yeah.
Didn't do a whole lot of research on, I guess the elevation levels in Seattle.
Yeah. Now, we didn't get a chance to do the underground tour. There's a lot of stuff that I'd like to go back and do. The underground tour is definitely one of them.
Yeah, we got there Friday morning. We landed about 8:30, got to the hotel about 10. They store your luggage for you because we couldn't check. There was no early check-in in this hotel. But they store your luggage. So we went over to the Pike's Place Market first. That is one thing that Tiffany really wanted to see. She wanted to go through there. She was just adamant that she wanted to see them throw fish. And so she got to see them throw fish. So I hope you're happy about that.
Yes,
She just wanted to go through there and shop and just look at all that she could see. So we did that the first day. And then the second day we went over to the Seattle Center with the Space Needle. And I was going to go through the Museum of Pop Culture. That was my thing. And we did that on the second day as well.
Yeah. The weather was really nice. It was a little chilly.
In the first thing in the
morning. But the second day we were there, it warmed up pretty good.
I wore shorts and T-shirts the entire time we were in Seattle. No pants. And I had a light jacket first thing in the morning. And that was it. Seattle was beautiful. It was chilly on embarkation day morning. And it stayed chilly that morning a little bit, but our 2 days there was really nice.
Yeah.
Didn't rain, anything. So we were free just to roam around. Now, I, of course, didn't realize, too, that Seattle is more expensive, way more expensive than it is here in Texas. And that was I guess it wasn't completely unexpected, but some of it was a bit of a sticker shock.
Yeah, when you go to the hamburger joint here in Texas, it's $20 for two people to eat. Around $20.
Yeah.
It was $42 for 2 burgers, 2 small fries, and 2 drinks.
And Tiffany got this milkshake. It was like $3, but the cup was like this big. Not what we're used to here in Texas. And I mentioned it in the video, Seattle has a bit of a homeless problem. I know there's tons of cities that do, major cities do, but we come from a rural area, a rural town, so we don't see that as often unless we go into a bigger city. And Seattle had a bit of a homeless problem and some weird stuff. Like we were walking to Seattle Center, or we were walking over to the monorail to ride over there because the monorail wasn't very far. And so we said, well, we'll just hit this McDonald's real quick, grab a couple breakfast sandwiches and head on over there. We don't need anything big. But you couldn't even go inside the McDonald's. You had to order. They had a barrier across the doors, and you had to walk up to the barrier and order. And they wouldn't even let you go inside the restaurant. It was there. All the chairs were there, everything, because they were having such an issue with the homeless people. They wouldn't even let people in the McDonald's. I mean, the McDonald's had security, of all things, which was kind of weird.
Well,
or maybe it's normal there.
We found out why they had security.
Right.
Yeah. So Tom is staying at the Homewood Suites downtown. It's close to the pier, or they think it's close to the pier. There's a lot of piers down there. So there was a lot of piers.
Yeah, there's a ton of piers down there.
Andre, you probably put shorts on in Alaska too, laugh out loud.
No, actually I didn't. Well, I didn't pack enough shorts to wear them in Alaska. So I'm 100% honest about that. I expected it to be colder, or that I would be colder than I was on sometimes. But I know by the time we got to Victoria, I was looking for shorts again.
Yeah.
And I just didn't pack enough. Otherwise, you're right. I probably would have had more shorts on.
Just Cody said, OMG, I would have had a heart attack from sticker shock.
It was a bit much. And if you stay downtown, they really only have, local one-off type restaurants, which are great. They have good food, opportunities to eat new things, but, they're not franchised or anything like that. So you're going to pay a higher price.
Yeah.
We learned that real quickly. We ate one McDonald's, and it wasn't until we were leaving the cruise pier that we even saw a Taco Bell. So if you're looking for cheap, quick eats in the Seattle downtown area, You're not
And
gonna find
even
them.
Subway for a 6-inch, it was $13
Yeah,
for a Subway sandwich, because we found a Subway in the food court at the Seattle Center, and we're like, okay, we can do that. And I walked up there, and it was $13 for a 6-inch, and I'm like, no.
here in Texas, it's $5 footlongs.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is a bit of a price difference. So if you've never been to Seattle, that's something to definitely keep in mind. And we stayed in the Citizen M Hotel, and if you guys watched the first day Seattle video, I did a room tour in there. It's nice. It was clean. They were polite, professional, all that kind of stuff in the hotel, but the rooms are very small. The bed is pressed all the way up into a corner. So, like, Tiffany had to crawl over me to get in and out of the bed at night. Great for a solo cruiser, but yeah, you might want to watch that video before you book the Citizen M, because it might not be for everybody. It was an experience. Don't get me wrong, it was unique. The shower glowed different colors, all kinds of stuff like that. It was a cool little hotel.
Yeah.
But you get to be, almost 50 years old, and crawling over someone at 2 a.m. is not your first choice. And I'm the one that's almost 50, not Tiffany. She had a birthday while we were gone. You guys know, and she turned 30.
California Linda shares, so glad Tiffany was able to enjoy the cookies at Three Sisters Bakery, but never catch a fish. Very expensive, as if you catch it, you buy it. No, I didn't stand close enough to catch it. I stood far enough away to record them throwing, because you see it on TV and you don't think that really happens, but it really does happen.
Yeah, and yeah, that's Tom. That's exactly what the locals told us while we were there. We actually ran into one of the security guards at the McDonald's. I don't know, maybe Texans can just sense each other from across the street, because he walks over and goes, "Where are you guys from?" And we're like, "Texas." He goes, "Where?" We're like, "Oh, down by the San Antonio area." And he's like, "I'm from Houston." And now we have a half an hour discussion, with with another military guy who's also from Texas, and that is exactly what he told us, is that they try to drive those businesses out.
Yeah.
They only want the local businesses. He said the same thing, and that is exactly what we saw.
Yes. Attila the Fun, hey y'all, not real surprised on the prices up in Seattle. Never been there though. How about cost of things in the Alaskan ports? I was expecting it to be expensive, because it is Alaska, and I've watched enough travel shows to know that they pay a lot for their stuff.
Right. They were less than Seattle.
Yeah.
I'll give you that much. More expensive than, well, no, not even really that. Figure Caribbean port prices, are about what we saw in Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
For your day-to-day items. Just for a rough example, I drink these.
Now those were about $5 each.
And we can get them for $3 in Mexico. They're about $3 here in the States. So, yeah, things are a little more expensive in Alaska. The only, sticker shock, utter sticker shock that we got was Tiffany was going to go eat at the king crab place in Juneau, and because she wanted one of those big giant crab legs, and of course I get it, big giant crab legs, it's probably going to cost a little bit more, but it was $200 to get one of those. That was a bit of a sticker shock.
3 pounds was $210, and me eating that by myself, I could not justify it. I don't care how much I like crab. No.
So I would say that was the biggest sticker shock. You do things like ride the tram. Yep, it's $50. Those type of excursion things, those real touristy, that all the people on the ships go and do, they're as high as you expected them to be.
Yeah.
I would say.
Love Boat Cruising says that's why we love our cruise food.
Yes, and
there were a couple days when we would
go back on the ship and
eat.
Just because when we couldn't find something that was fun enough to go do. I guess it was fun enough. We didn't just want to eat. We saw like a couple of Mexican food restaurants, which I thought was weird to find Mexican food restaurants in Alaska. But hey, why not? But we don't eat in Mexican food restaurants when we cruise. We're from Texas. I can throw a rock in any direction and hit a place to get a taco. So I don't go to Alaska to eat a taco.
Tilla the Fun says, "Ha! Wait till you're pushing past 60. Crawling over anyone is not in the cards." Paul says, "Hello, all. We in Alaska, July 23rd." And then Tom says,
I'm actually jealous, and I was just there.
Hawaii is very expensive, but it's an island and everything has to be shipped in. Yeah, if we ever do that, I'm already expecting Hawaii to be super expensive too. My dad actually lived in Alaska for 25 years, and he would tell me some of the prices. So I guess that's why I wasn't as shocking about Alaska.
Yeah, and I don't know. Maybe it's just, we've cruised enough times to realize that when you get to cruise ports, you can see a spike in prices. We've kind of seen that almost on all of them. Granted, like Mexico, we've, broken the code on where to go to get some things, versus cruise ports versus going out in the local public. But, you always see a bit of a price spike on cruises when you get off the ship. So Alaska wasn't as surprising, I guess, as Seattle was.
Seattle was a huge sticker shock.
And that's my fault. If I looked it up, I'd have known that. I bet if I'd have checked more, I'd have known that. I honestly went into it with, it costs this much here in Texas. I'm sure it costs the same there. And I was wrong. But that's on me.
Paul says they cruise NCL in 7 days.
Ooh, awesome. We saw a couple of NCL ships up there.
Yeah. Tom says he really enjoyed the live streams. Great job.
Yeah, we were trying to get as many of them, and I've watched a couple of them, and I see there were some quirky spots in them here and there, so I apologize for that. But that was strictly on cell service. I was really, really surprised how good the cell service was. I know it's in the United States, but I guess I never would have considered that. I've gotten all the way up to Skagway, and it would have 5G cell service, but it did.
We have better cell service on the cruise ship in Skagway than
we do in our house right now. Yeah, I was really surprised with that. So I'm glad you guys like them. We love doing them. Being able to share it in the moment. And yeah, I was surprised by that. So yeah, if you've got 5G phone service, you're heading to Alaska, you'll have cell service in every. You know which port we actually didn't have the best cell service in? Was in Victoria. I could not get it to send a picture to my daughter in Victoria, but I could send her a video from Skagway. Go figure.
Oh, they deleted their message.
Okay.
California Linda asks if you ate at the Crown Grill.
No. We didn't.
Just Cody likes our Alaska shirts.
Thank you. Excuse me. Our eating habits on board the Discovery Princess were 100% completely backwards from anything we normally do. We ordered more room service on the Discovery Princess than we have ever done on all of our other cruises combined. I mean, there were days we were ordering room service 2 and 3 times a day because we were getting out on that balcony and not moving. We did not want to leave the balcony to go to the buffet, to go to a specialty restaurant, or to go to the dining room because every time we were going out on the balcony, we were seeing stuff.
Orcas or eagles, or I happened to look up and saw a spray come up, and that's when I got to see the blue whales, gray whales. And so, yeah, we didn't.
Yeah, I mean, just cruising, we saw multiple bald eagles. We saw gray whales. We saw a couple of different pods of orcas. We saw seals. We saw hawks. Didn't get to see any bear. Didn't get to see any moose. But, I mean, once we were on the inside passage, it was just, there was constant wildlife for us in the ocean. And the mountains and snow. And remember, we're from Texas. We get snow so rarely that just this constant snow, and we've got to walk in snow in Juneau. The regular cruise stuff went right out the damn window.
Yeah. What surprised you the most?
Ooh, that's going to be a tough one. What surprised me the most?
I want to say that actually you hear about people going on cruises and they get to see the wildlife. But for me to actually witness it and see it, I was in such awe.
I would have to say that I'm a huge fan of sailing in the Caribbean. Again, love to snorkel, jet ski, swim with the fishes, chase the stingrays. I'm all about the water sports and water activities. When we go to the Caribbean, I take my own snorkeling gear. I'm all about it. I love being warm more than I like being cold. So I guess I may have had a little, I don't know if I'm going to like being on a cold cruise. I don't know if I'm going to like, not being able to do the things I normally do when I cruise. So I guess my biggest surprise is to come back and be able to say that I think Alaska is now my favorite place that I've been to, that it's actually beaten the Caribbean by the sheer beauty of the experience. So I would have to say that is my biggest surprise, is how much I really enjoyed being there versus the warmness of the Caribbean.
Robert says, and that's why I tell people if they go to Alaska, you have to get a balcony.
Absolutely. And maybe not everybody has the same experience, but we were on the left side of the ship. Get your balcony on the right-hand side of the ship if you can.
Everything was on
Every
the right
single
side.
time something came up, they'd be like, hey, look at this. It's over on the starboard side. And we're like, great, we're on the port side. Get it on the right-hand side.
Love Boat Cruising says, balcony's so worth it. I had ocean view, but really missed a private balcony. Yes.
Yeah, we spent so much time on this balcony.
I would also suggest, because Chris and I found ourselves arguing over the binoculars. Take a pair of binoculars for everybody in the cabin. Because he'd be looking and I'm like, wait, it's my turn. I don't want to miss it. And then he missed something because I was looking through it.
Yeah,
so definitely take
a pair for everybody.
Take a pair.
Because, and again, you hear the stories. Yeah, you could see a whale. Yeah, you could see an orca. You might see a seal or this or that. And so I went into it thinking, well, we might see this. Okay, I didn't realize we were might see this a whole lot.
Yes.
I didn't realize it was going to be pods after pods of these orcas. And it may have just been perfect timing, but they weren't like right next to the ship. They were, off a little bit, but you could still see them come out of the water. And so, yeah, you're up looking through the binoculars. And then, of course, we both want to look at the same time. And, yeah, take multiple pairs of binoculars. That is a very, very good tip.
Diane said, I remember my first cruise to Alaska. I didn't want to go to sleep because I was afraid I would miss something. We would come back in and the room steward would close the curtains for turning down the room for nighttime. And first thing I do is walk over and open them right back up. It's like, don't close the curtains.
Yes, and there were a couple of times we'd go out in the hallway. And our room steward, Aaron, was one of the best room stewards we'd ever. I'd see him just kind of hanging out in the hallway. And I just knew in my mind, you're ready for us to get out, aren't you? And I would tell him that. I said, all right, I see you. We're going to get out. He was like, no, sir, you're fine. I said, come on now. You want me to get out so you can get in the room. I got it. So that'd be about the only time we would leave the room.
Yeah.
And so he had it timed pretty well. He'd be like, because we would, slip up to the buffet for breakfast. And on some of the mornings, we had breakfast brought in a couple of times. We were in the Endicott Arm. Heading for the Dawes Glacier. No, we pre-ordered our breakfast and had it already ordered to come to the room before we even hit that, because we had no intention of leaving that room for 4 hours straight.
Attila the Fun says, yes, totally. The whole trip up there is more about wildlife and nature, not cruising quite like Caribbean style. I just like looking for the waterfalls coming down the sides of the mountain from the snow caps.
Tons of those too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not cruising Caribbean style, and it was amazing. It was amazing.
Also, binoculars that are lightweight enough to carry around all day. Yes, I did get bigger binoculars, but they weren't super heavy. So, I love snorkeling. I've never cruised in the Caribbean. What is the best cruise area? Snorkeling, especially from the beach.
Ooh. I've had good experiences, at several. Cozumel has some awesome snorkeling, but they have a pretty strong current, so you got to be a really strong swimmer to keep up with it. But we've seen, God, have we swam in a bad place?
Belize.
With the coral
reef.
Yeah, it's got the second largest coral reef, next to the Great Barrier Reef. We've snorkeled there. Carnival's private island of Half Moon Key. I spent the afternoon following wild stingrays out there while snorkeling. I just recently snorkeled on Coco Key, was the last Caribbean place I snorkeled, and fish everywhere. And apparently the seas were a little rough that day, but apparently you could see octopus and stingrays and everything off right there at Coco Key. As long as you're in the Caribbean, you've got that crystal clear water, and especially if there's some rocks around, I don't know that you can get a bad spot.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I would probably have to look more for a bad spot.
Cozumel really doesn't have anything off the beach, though, does it?
No, Cozumel is
Do an
rocks.
excursion.
Yeah, you have to go in off the rocks down towards the north on there to get that beautiful water. But like I said, it's got a good cross current down there that will sweep you down the coast pretty quickly if you're not paying attention.
I tell the princess, just get the best ones you can afford. I watch wildlife, and I really regret getting cheap ones in the past.
We got ours at Walmart for like $35.
Yeah, I paid $32 for them.
And we could see all,
They were a 10 by 50 magnification. I don't know what that means. I asked somebody, and they said
they were good for us.
This is what you need. Someone just told us that the southern Caribbean islands like Bonaire and Curaçao is super nice for coral reefs.
That would make sense because that's that reef runs over by Belize and then comes down that way towards the ABC Islands. So yeah, that should be the same reef structure, wall barrier that runs between both Belize and over there. So yeah, I believe it because the one in Belize was gorgeous.
Yeah, and they are very protective about it.
Yes, and I'm sure they are over there at the ABC Islands too.
Very protective.
ABC Islands is on our list. There are cruises that are going to be going from Galveston next year going to the ABC Islands. So that is definitely on our list.
California, Linda agrees with room service. On early excursion days, room service is our go-to. Anywhere in the Caribbean is great snorkeling. Bahamas has my favorite. Next year, Coral Reef.
Yeah, I've had great snorkeling experiences in the Bahamas too.
Yeah.
Which is where all the private islands, because we've snorkeled on Disney's private island, Carnival's, Disney's. Yeah, those 3 private islands, and we've never had a bad snorkeling experience, to be honest with you. Now, I've been in some beaches and some water that are not good for snorkeling. So, the 360 beach experience that Virgin has there on Bimini, that one was not good for snorkeling. The silt was too light; it would float up and cloud the water. But if you go over to the beach right next to the cruise pier that's free, it was crystal clear and there was a butt ton of fish. Anything in Progreso is the Gulf of Mexico. The water's too green. So there's a couple beaches in Cozumel. If you go south of the cruise piers, they're a little silty and stuff like that, and the water's not very clear. So I said there's probably far more bad ones, or far less. No, it's probably easier to say the bad ones than it is the good ones because there's so many good ones.
I think we're all caught up.
We are all caught up. So what did you think of the Discovery Princess? Because, we had just gone on the Ruby Princess the month prior, and my camera went out of focus. All right. And when we came back from that cruise, I was a little unsure. We were a little unsure on our thoughts on Princess Cruise Lines. It was a theme cruise and stuff like that, and our very first time on Princess. And we kind of came back and we were like, we're not real sure what we think and feel about Princess. We really need to go on another cruise to determine it. And
were the seas rough for you?
One day.
They said they were going to be rough, but I don't really remember them being.
When we left the Inside Passage to make the run in the North Pacific, it was North Pacific rough. What you would expect, but nothing super severe. The ship bounced, rocked a little bit here and there. Went by the shops early one morning and saw a mannequin laying down. So it must have been rough enough to knock her over, but I would say nothing abnormal.
Yeah.
Nothing unexpected in the Pacific anyway. At least for that run. On the Inside Passage, it was never anything. But only that run in the North Pacific was a little rougher.
I sometimes get seasick, but the Dramamine works very well for me.
99.9% of the time,
Never.
knock on wood,
Yeah.
we don't get seasick. Never have. Except on that one cruise on Grandeur of the Seas. Seas were rough. Stuff was flying everywhere.
The bed was facing the wrong way.
The bed was facing the wrong way, and we had a cabin up near the bow. And that just added up to too much.
Yeah.
And we had a little popping action going off from that one. But that is the one and only time. And I think if our cabin hadn't been so far forward, it wouldn't have happened at all. So cabin placement can definitely play a role in that. But that's the only time we've ever gotten seasick. But I see lots of people that wear the patches right behind their ears, and it seems to work for them.
And apparently I've heard a lot of people say a green apple. Keep a green apple in your room, and that will help settle your stomach.
And ginger.
I've
heard are really good, natural remedies.
California Linda Tom, I use a skin suit to prevent sunburn, jellyfish, and man-o-wars encounters in the Gulf area. Check your sail dates.
We saw jellyfish.
We ran into I don't know if it's called a school or what, but there was a bunch of baby jellyfish.
Yeah, they were itty bitty little ones, so I dare.
They still hurt. Not super bad. It felt like a little ant bite when it got you, but they finally had us get back on the boat because
there were starting to be too many of them.
Yeah.
That's the only time we've ever come across jellyfish, and that was in
Cozumel.
Yeah, but that was at the end of October.
Yeah.
That was when Dylan was with us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the end of October we ran into the jellyfish. Because we don't use any type of skin suits or anything like that. We just wear the long sleeve swim shirts. That way we don't have to use sunscreen, because even that stuff that they say is reef safe is not reef safe. And a lot of times they'll make you wash it off before they'll let you anywhere near those reefs. So if you are going to go to the Caribbean, long sleeve swim shirts are your best bet. Once you're done snorkeling, you can put it on, all that kind of stuff. But if you're doing any kind of reef diving or anything like that, a lot of time the guides will have you not put that on. One, your mask won't seal right, and two, they don't want it on the reef. Because even that stuff apparently they say is reef safe, they don't trust, and they don't think it is. So that's something to keep in mind. But Discovery Princess. So we go on the Discovery Princess, our second Princess cruise, and I was turned around. I am a fan of Princess from our cruise on the Discovery Princess. First of all, the Discovery Princess, she was beautiful. Granted, she's only a year old, but she was beautiful. I mean, the crew was on it. Bam, 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 bam. I can tell you what Tiffany liked about the ship, but I'll let Tiffany. What was your favorite thing about the Discovery Princess?
International Cafe.
Well, how about the fact that they had 3 separate coffee shops available on the ship? So they had a coffee shop at the International Cafe, a coffee shop on Deck 7, and a coffee shop in the buffet. Tiffany could get specialty coffee anywhere, and they would bring it to her room for her.
Yes.
She was in specialty coffee to heaven.
Yes. Brandicida? I swear by Dramamine 2, they have the non-drowsy.
Hopefully, I never need to actually learn about that kind of stuff from experience.
Bring jellyfish sting first aid lotion. My daughter got stung pretty good by one in Roatan, and it seemed to work. She was a drama queen about it anyway.
I was wearing a long sleeve shirt. I just brushed them out of the way until they made me get out of the water. There are quite a few times they have to pry me out of the ocean.
He's the one that usually gets in trouble because he goes away from the group and they're hollering and whistling and waving him down, trying to get him back to the group.
It's not my fault. The fish went left. I went left. Okay? If the fish stayed with the group, I would stay with the group. That's all there is. I'm following the fish. Okay? If the stingray goes this way, I'm going to go that way too. I want to see where he's going. I'm not interested where the group is going. I don't need to get kicked in the head. I've got stuff to look at. I try not to stray very far, though.
I know.
Excuse me. But I do get whistled at a lot in excursion groups, which is another reason why, if there's a way for us to do it without an excursion group, you'll see us do that more often than not, just for that very reason, because I don't want to get told, unless it's a safe, don't go over there because you'll die. Okay, I get that. But, they want to take the group to the right and all the fish are over to the left. I want to go see the fish. So if I can do it by myself, that's what I will do.
And love the International Cafe. So handy and has good selection. Yes.
Yeah.
And they're quick and you don't have to wait in line forever.
No, I was really surprised the number of times that Tiffany didn't wait in line for a coffee, even in the buffet. You think the buffet's slam busy. You can barely find a seat in there. But Tiffany could walk up and get a specialty coffee faster than I could find a chair. I mean, they were on it. And I don't even drink coffee, and I was still impressed by how quickly they were just on it. I mean, they could whip a coffee out like nobody else. And the International Cafe, open all the time. Yeah, I mean, the 24-hour room service. And we had Discover Princess Plus, so we don't get charged for anything on room service, unless you order a specialty item. So, yeah, all of our room service was free, was included. I was just impressed. I was happy with it.
California Linda said, always carry a spray bottle of vinegar and add off meat tenderizer in my gear bag. Does that help with stings?
She is way more prepared than I am.
Yeah. I'm going to assume that helps with jellyfish stings.
Snorkel mask and a pair of pants, and that's usually about as prepared as you'll find me.
Stings.
Which is probably not a good idea. I am not 20 years old anymore. Some facts I discovered on this Alaska cruise when I said, hey, look, this big giant mountain, there's a trail up the side. Let's go. 3/4 of the way up there, I'm like, oh, dang, I forgot I'm not 20. But we're going to keep going. I'm going to drag myself up the last little bit, but I guess my mind hasn't quite caught up to my body yet. It still thinks it's 20. And
well, if I'd have had the right shoes on, we'd have gone all the way to the top.
We just shot up the side of them mountains. But yeah, I'm doing stuff. You know what? I'm not going to stop. Why I didn't get on here and say something. I have no intention of stopping until I physically cannot make it up there anymore. I'm having too much fun.
Yes.
Way too much fun. But back to Discovery Princess before I get so far off track, I forget. The only thing I didn't like about the Discovery Princess, and it was a layout thing, the promenade on deck 7, the outside section of it, you got 2 areas in the back and the aft of the ship that you can go on, that you can get some, decent railing and look over the side and see what's going on. But you cannot go all the way around aft on that ship, nor can you go all the way forward. And pretty much everything from those 2 little sections aft is all the lifeboats lined all the way up forward. So other than getting up very high, deck 17, to get a view over the side of the ship that doesn't have glass, a private balcony was about the only really good way you could see off of that ship. I'm used to I like the ships that have the full promenade all around them. You couldn't even get up on the bow. The only place you could get up front and see over the bow was in the sanctuary. And unless you have the pass to get in, you got to pay to go in there. So I said, just a little layout thing about the Discovery Princess. Probably about the only thing about her I didn't like.
California Linda shares with Princess, it's the International Cafe, and with Royal Caribbean, it's the Cafe Promenade.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's for jellyfish stings, relieves pain and swelling. Now I'm going to have to put that in the first aid bottle. Or backpack.
Hopefully she'll remember. I will forget by the time this video is over, until I get stung by a jellyfish going, now I remember what I was told. Which happens all the time, so Tiffany will tell me something and I will forget it before she walks out of the room sometimes. It's not on purpose.
It's all right. I do the same thing.
But, so what did you think of Discovery Princess other than that? Our room was great. We were in a mini suite this time. And that was due to the princess room mess up thing that happened months and months ago. Their solution ended up being putting us in a mini suite. Now I'll say this about the mini suite. I think the mini suite has its pluses and I think it has its minuses. Definitely had more room. The bathroom was bigger. So space wise, comfortable wise, all that, the mini suite was awesome. The negative though is Tiffany liked the mini suite, which could be a problem in the future. Because now we'd be like, well, I can get us this inside cabin at a very low cost. And that's what I'm gonna see. I think that's the negative to the mini suite is the fact that Tiffany likes it. I don't know if I can get her out.
As long as it's not an inside cabin on Princess, because you kept laughing at me. We'd go by the hallways, and the room stewards would have the doors open because they're cleaning. So I'm always looking at the rooms to check them out and everything like that. And I told him, I said, those inside cabins are really small. And he goes, that's just because you're in a mini suite. You think everything's small. And so he looked in it. I think our studio that we're in right now was the same size as that entire cabin, bathroom and all.
Yeah, those inside cabins were super tiny when you looked at the room, and she's in a mini suite, so yeah, getting her to go in one of those tiny rooms after this, it's going to be a hard fight. That's going to be a hard fight for me, guys.
Attila the Fun says, I guess all newer ships are taking away those wonderful full wraparound promenades. So nice to walk on, especially in a place like Alaska.
Yeah, there were a couple times when, we were in Endicott Arm or we were coming into a cruise port. I would have loved to have been up front getting some video, of us heading into some place. There just wasn't a place to get up there and do it.
And I don't remember, we were leaving Ketchikan. I think we were leaving somewhere, and we're looking over the ship, and we kept seeing spray, and it was going behind the ship. And so I'm running to the other side of the ship, and he's on this side, and we're trying to go back and forth to find this spray, and never could find it because you can't see past the lifeboats.
Yeah, that was the first gray whale we were trying to chase down. So yeah, and I agree with that. And these newer ships, they're taking away those really pretty viewing spots. So while the Discovery Princess was beautiful, she was new
on the
inside and everything like that, those couple little items would make me consider taking a different ship if it knew it had the viewing capacity.
Attila the Fun says, oh, Chris, looks like you're ready for that sweet life now.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think so. I think, and if we were going to Alaska again, after the amount of time that we spent on the balcony in the cabin this last time, I completely can agree with that. Because having all of the extra space and everything like that, so we could just be on and off the balcony all day long, was perfect. I completely agree with that. But yeah, I try to get, these new categories so I can share them. Tiffany can see them. But yeah, every time we get a better category, Tiffany's liking it better and better and better. She didn't even used to want a balcony cabin.
Because like California Linda, inside cabin means more cruises. And that's how I would think. I'm really glad, though, that we did have the balcony, not just because it was an Alaskan cruise, but for some reason, my anxiety just on this trip was off the charts.
Yeah.
But
even on the other cruises, after you got a couple of balconies under you, I can ask you now, what kind of room do you want? You'll be balcony, automatic balcony. She will stay in an inside cabin if I book it and don't tell her. But if she has the option, balcony. But for Alaska, it would have to be a balcony. It has to be. If you can get in a balcony, you have to get in a balcony because that's where you're going to see the best stuff. But the couple times I did go out on deck, I was surprised that there were so few people on deck. There was a lot of inside cabins and ocean view cabins, but maybe a lot of people have been to Alaska more than once. They weren't as interested in the scenery as we were. But there'd be a lot of people sitting on the inside of the ship where they couldn't see anything, doing other stuff. Oh, maybe mountains and nature don't interest them, but there was no way you were getting me sitting inside the ship.
On our Princess Discovery and 2020 FCC deadlines, we were in suite off the aft.
And And that, on my next Alaska cruise, I would like to see if I could find either a forward-facing balcony or an aft-facing balcony. I really like a forward-facing balcony, which Discovery Princess did have some. I would like to film from that location would be my next option for Alaska, because some of the times we're just going between those mountains with the ocean right there. It was so beautiful, but I just never could get a real good, clean shot because there was no spot to. I mean, I'd be hanging off the side of the balcony trying to see it.
Till the Fun is asking if the casino was busy. In the afternoons and evenings, it was busy.
Yeah.
The few times you and I went, it wasn't.
Not really. Yeah, we would go a couple times in the morning. We hit the casino a couple times. I made donations. Tiffany won. Almost always do great in the casino. This time, not at all. Not even remotely close. If I touched the machine, I lost.
That's
And
normally how I am.
And then Tiffany touched the machine and she won. And I just think it's because the casino was nice to her. It was her birthday. But yeah, Tiffany was coming at it. But no, it was never really busy. I don't ever remember ever walking through it and seeing it packed, though.
There was one time I did.
Okay. What time of day was that?
It was in the evening.
In the evening, maybe like after dinner?
Yeah.
So Tiffany saw it busy once. I never saw it busy.
September will be the number 5 for Alaska, and we still can't get enough of it.
I can understand that.
We've been told you got to go at different times through the year because, like, right now it's hard to get up to see the glaciers because of the ice. There's still a lot of ice.
Yeah, and more wildlife later in the season. If we go in September, you see more wildlife, and you might get to see the salmon spawn, things like that. So, yeah, we've done May. I think the next time we go up, we'll probably shoot for September. And
yeah, because I want to see the salmon go upriver.
Yes. So we can see even more things. Yeah, so that's our understanding that if you go multiple times to Alaska, you pick different months, you can see different things.
Balcony is always my favorite. However, if we are traveling with friends, we don't spend as much time on the balcony. We generally, as a normal rule, we don't normally spend that much time in the cabin. We're off doing,
or on the balcony.
Yeah, that's why it normally doesn't bother me to get an inside cabin. Because we're not in the room except to shower and change and sleep. But here lately, we've been spending a little bit more time in the cabin.
Well, I mean, sunrise and sunsets are great when you're in the Caribbean. When you're pulling in and out of port, I like to watch that. But when you're just ocean sailing in the Caribbean, it's just water, 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 more water. So a balcony is not near as important to us, and we won't spend as much time on it. We'll be doing much more things on the ship, participating in activity. I mean, we went to no trivia. We went to a couple of enrichment things on board the ship. We went to the 2 production shows on the ship. Excuse me. And that's about it. And we played in the casino a little bit when there was nothing else going on. And that was pretty much everything we did on the ship, to be honest with you. It was all about what we could see outside the window. We were so focused on that.
Yes. Until the Fun, yeah, we will book one in September.
I think that's what we'll do too. I'm sure Tiffany wouldn't be too upset if I looked at one for 2024 or 2025, September back to Alaska. I bet she wouldn't argue too much with me on that.
All upset about it.
See? Terribly upset. I think we'll also try a different cruise line.
Just can't get a good break. Time off from work that time of year, it's hard. Yes, I completely understand that. It's getting into the busy season for us. The scenery is so beautiful. I don't blame you for not wanting to leave the balcony.
Yeah, I mean, it was such a beautiful trip. I can't get over how much I enjoyed it. I mean, so happy we went. It took us so long to get there, you know, with COVID and everything that went on, cruises getting canceled. We finally get there, and it was spectacular. Now, where it was not so spectacular, and this one still grinds my gears just a little bit, and that was Victoria. Was really looking forward to a stop in Canada. We had not been to Canada, just wanted to check it out. And no facts to prove it up, but I'm utterly convinced that the cruise lines are using Victoria for nothing more than to beat, the requirement to stop in a foreign port. We didn't get to Victoria until 7 o'clock at night. That was our arrival time. And just as we're pulling in, Holland America's pulling in, Norwegian's pulling in. So it wasn't just Princess doing this. And by the time they actually get the ship tied off, and of course now it's 7:30, coming up on 8 o'clock at night. So the whole ship is awake. The whole ship is up. They've been up all day. They're all ready to get off the ship. And they all try to get off the ship at once. They want to see it too. And so by the time you actually get off the ship, it is now after 8 o'clock. And your all aboard time is 11:30. So it really felt more of a throwaway port that the only reason they actually stopped there was to beat, the PSVA.
I know so many people that won't go to Alaska. They don't know what they are missing.
Oh, they absolutely don't know what they're missing.
My dad lived there for 25 years and said he still needs to go back because he didn't see it all.
Yeah, the only thing I can see about Alaska versus, Alaska, of course, is more expensive than what it is to get up, away for the weekend to the Caribbean. That much is true. But having just completed an Alaska cruise, it was worth every penny. Mm-hmm. Every penny, it was utterly worth, except for that irkiness I got in Victoria.
Yeah.
And I get it. They're trying to get back, and that's all the time they really have. But I would have enjoyed more time to do, see a little bit more of Canada. Things were starting to close because they have shuttles and stuff that'll take you into town. But with 3 ships, all dump their people off all at once, 3 big ships, and they all dump off in the exact same spot. So you're trying to share these shuttles with 3 cruise ships. The lines to get on those were long. It's just easier to walk there, but it's a 20-minute walk to get over to town. And then town was just crowded, utterly crowded, because you have thousands of people from different cruise ships all want to see the same thing at once, and they all basically got 2.5 hours to see it in. It's barely enjoyable.
Yeah. California Linda agrees. We had 4 hours in Victoria, arrived at 7 a.m. Stores opened at 9 or 10. Our daughter and son-in-law will not go back after Safeway transferred them 15 years ago.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind going back. I just want more time while we're there to actually see it, to actually enjoy it, and not feel like I'm rushing to see a couple of things before I have to get back to the ship, because now I'm concerned that we're going to miss all aboard time.
They are 1 hour from Homer.
I have no idea where Homer is.
I noticed the Victoria thing when looking at cruises. I figured it's just a legal thing to stop in a foreign port. I'd be okay to stay on board and just view it from the top decks.
Well, that's the thing. There's not a whole lot you can view where the cruise ships stop at. The actual downtown where you see the beautiful architecture and stuff that they have, because we saw some really beautiful architecture in their hotels, in their Parliament building. Stonework and stuff like that. It was beautiful, but that's nothing you can see from the cruise ship.
Yeah.
It's on the other side, and it's about a 20-25 minute walk, depending on how fast you walk. And Tiffany and I were hauling booty to get over there to see as much as we could see. So if you've never been, there is stuff worth seeing, I think. Mm-hmm. Cruise lines just don't give you enough time to see it.
We have an excursion to a garden and butterfly park. Sounds like a time crunch.
Yeah, check your schedule to see exactly how long you're going to be there, because, like I said, the ship said they're going to get there at 7, but by the time they tied off 3 major cruise ships and you get a few thousand people off, you're not getting off that ship till an hour later.
Attila the Fun says, so you have to get off this to see, bring my running shoes, huh? It's pretty much just, there's one shop in the port, and we were walking so fast by it that we didn't even notice it.
Yeah, there's no cruise port.
Nothing. They've got buses. It's a big parking lot.
Right. They drop you off in a parking lot. Right on the other side of the parking lot is a residential neighborhood. You have to go past all of that to get to the other side to even get to the downtown area where all the stuff is actually at.
We have the same itinerary as you, same time.
Yeah, so think about that. Your excursion is going to be shorter than you're probably going to enjoy. They're probably going to rush you a little bit. That way you know ahead of time, because that irks me to no end. When you pay for an excursion, you get there like, cool, hope you enjoy your gardens and your butterflies, and it's been 10 minutes, time's up, back on the bus. And with that super, super short window, it's going to be tight for you.
But they'll probably be able to get off before the general public because it's an excursion, right?
And they still have to get the excursion together, check all their tickets, get them on the bus, drive them there. You're still not going to get a ton of time on that excursion. Yeah. And they're still going to charge you more than it's probably worth to take it. In my opinion. Do not know that for a fact. You know, I do that show on Saturday, what every cruiser wants. So no, this is my opinion. It is not a fact written in stone, and I don't speak for anybody other than me. I don't even speak for Tiffany. So, but I think that might be a bit tight. I said the little bit we got to see of Victoria was nice, and then it got dark, and they put on the lights, and it was super pretty. I don't feel like I got to see more than basically 2 blocks of stuff worth seeing, and boom, we're out of there.
They must have had a car show going on that night too, because we saw a lot of cool older
Antique
cars.
Yeah, antique fixed up muscle cars, hot rods. They did a car show going on, and all that's in the video. I took a video of a lot of cars. Well, it was either that or a lot of houses as we walked by. So I would say that was the only stinker part of it, the very last night.
That, and be prepared that if you do spend American dollars in Canada, they give you your change back in Canadian currency.
Yeah, so you're going to end up with some Canadian currency, which, as a matter of fact, I got a piece right there.
This is a 10. So.
Oh, is it? I don't know what. Yeah, there's 10 Canadian dollars right there. Yeah, so they do give you your change back. And if you're like us, we actually like that kind of junk. It's like, ooh, you're going to give us somebody else's money?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We have like 15. It's almost $20 because they gave me some coins. And I was looking at the coins, and it's like $2 coins and dollar coins. My daughter spent a whole week in Victoria and sent us a ton of photos and videos. So I feel like we've seen it virtually at least.
Yeah, and if she spent, a whole week there and had tons of video, that right there tells me there's way more to see than we got to see. You know, if she can come up with a week's worth of videos and pictures, there was more to see than we could possibly have seen in 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah.
So, and I would say that was probably the only real part of the cruise. It was just like,
Oh my gosh, so much.
Yeah. Then let's see. The only other thing a couple other things that were, I guess, were a little surprising. I was surprised how small the cruise terminal was in Seattle. We were kind of surprised by that because it feeds 2 cruise ships, and then you have to stand in the one line to hand in your luggage, to stand in another line so they can make sure you have your medallion, to go stand in another line to get checked into the cruise ship before they let you get on the cruise ship. I don't know. That process seems like it could use a little streamlining, or we've just gotten spoiled with how they do things in Galveston. Because Galveston, you just drop your bag with the porter. I mean, there's a place to go and drop your bag, but I've never made it that far.
No, the porters
are bam, 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 getting your bags, you slip them a little tip, and then line and on the cruise ship. It's real fast in Galveston. I was surprised how slow it was, and it seemed weird and tiny in Seattle.
Yeah.
But I know some people had suggested it before we even went up there. We did use Port Valet, which turned out to be really good. Worked perfectly. We signed up for it. They brought us our luggage tags to the cabin, our boarding passes for the airplane. Everything was in our cabin the last day. They took our bags that night before a disembarkation, and we didn't see them again until we got off the airplane here back home. That worked really well, and it's free.
I will say though, that was a little. We've never done that before. We always have our bags with us, and so
We don't fly to the cruise ports. This is the first time we've ever flown to a cruise
this
port.
is true too. But it just, I was so worried that we were going to be that one that they're talking about years to come. You know, getting off the ship without our shoes or something. Because
I was more concerned that we were going to be standing at the belt here at the conveyor in the baggage claim and our bags weren't going to come off. That was my biggest concern. But nope, went super smooth, super smooth. So Port Valet worked like a champ. I said, and they had us checked into the airlines, everything. It was just walked in through security and nothing. Walked right on the airplane, scanned our ticket, and we were on. So they made the airport really, really easy. You know, especially considering it was Memorial Weekend when we flew back.
yeah,
It wasn't all that bad.
mm-mm.
It was not all that bad at all. So I do recommend the Port Valet. And I'm going to throw this suggestion out. And again, this is just a suggestion. We bought transfers from the cruise lines, you know, to get on the bus and take us over to the airport. It worked just fine. But the transfers are what, $40, $45 a piece. So for two of us, you're still going to pay $80, $90 to get these airport transfers for a 25-minute ride. So you have to wait till the buses come before they even let you off the ship. And we were one of the last ones to get off the ship. Then we still had to go outside, waited in line for a good 20, 30 minutes before they even got us on a bus to even take us over to the airport. The taxis are in the exact same spot and cost you about $80 to get a ride to the airport. Not each, just $80. And they were just waiting for people to get into them. So if you're using Port Valet, or even if you're not, but we were using Port Valet, so we didn't even have our luggage with us. If I'd have known that, I would have not paid for the airport transfer. I'd have jumped in a taxi and been gone like that and never waited in the line.
But then we wouldn't have found out that Seattle's hilly because of fish in the toilet.
That's true. We may not have known the fish in the toilet story, but we wouldn't have stood in that crazy cramped line for 20, 30 minutes either.
Attila the Fun says, similar to how Disney does the luggage transfer service, forget the name of it.
Yeah, I forget the name of it too. The last time I used that was in 2006. I did a land sea package with Disney, and theirs was spectacular. I flew out of San Antonio that time. I checked my luggage in at the airport in San Antonio, and the next time I touched my luggage was when I got off the plane in San Antonio. They picked it up at the airport, took it to my resort at Disney World, picked it up from Disney World, took it to the cruise ship. Then from the cruise ship, they put it back on the airplane. Disney, for all of Disney's faults and how expensive Disney can be, Disney has their service dialed in. And Disney can do some service like no other. Yeah, I never touched that bag. And they don't just put it outside your door. They had it in my resort room. They had it in my cabin. Yeah. So I've used that Disney one before, and it's great.
We did same thing in 2006, cruise and parks, so we fish it.
Yeah. So you were on a Disney cruise in 2006? Was it by chance in December of 2006? I wonder if we're on the same ship. But I was on the Disney Wonder. It was a 3-day Bahama cruise, and I'd have to look at the exact dates, but I want to say it was in December of 2006, I believe. I'd have to look, but I'm almost positive that's what it was. That was a long time ago. So, yeah. I can't. Port Valet works good. And my understanding is the only one that's not currently using Port Valet is Carnival for some reason.
He says August, yes, 3 days. So he went in August, you went in December.
Okay. Close. Only a few months apart.
Yeah.
You
could have been on the same ship.
Almost. Almost. You'd be surprised sometimes you come across.
Sorry, we went in June on that one.
Don't worry. 2006 was a hot minute ago for me. I can't always remember the exact dates. I have to have them all written down somewhere to keep track of all that stuff, especially when I'm talking about it, because I'll give wrong dates, all kinds of information like that. But yeah, again, cannot say enough good things about Alaska. Highly recommend it. The Discovery Princess was awesome. The crew was awesome. The service was awesome. We did not have any bad service experiences, any problems on the ship. I said, didn't care for the promenade layout, but that's a personal thing. It wasn't broken. Just didn't care for it. It was a smooth trip. The captain was funny. Captain Smith.
Captain John Smith.
Captain John Smith, no relation to
Pocahontas.
No, he said he was related to John Smith from Pocahontas, no relation to the Titanic John Smith.
Yes. That's
what he said. He gets that question a lot. Are you related to John Smith from the Titanic? Or he said one person even asked him, was he the same John Smith?
On the Titanic.
On the Titanic. He said, well, that was over 100 years ago. I'm going to go with no. So the captain was funny.
Yes. And watching him and the cruise director.
Yeah, they were funny. And I got some of that on video, and it was really cool. And I can't remember the gentleman's last name, but he was an Alaskan naturalist, had written books about Alaska, and he would be up on the bridge. And when we were like in the Endicott Arm and a couple places like that, he would be narrating, think, hey, look over here, you'll see this.
Look to the right.
Look to the right. Yeah, always look to the right. And giving us facts and information and stuff. If you watch the Endicott Arm live, you could hear him. And there's a couple other places he was doing it. He was doing it when we left Ketchikan. Just, all kinds of Alaska facts. He did an enrichment seminar while on board the ship. He was a very knowledgeable gentleman.
Yeah.
I was looking for him there towards the end, though, because I saw these birds. Okay, now, and I never got to ask him this question, so I'll ask you guys that have been to Alaska before. I was looking off the balcony, and I suddenly started seeing these lines, and there was like 6 or 7 of them, just started going across the water, all parallel to each other. So I get out the binoculars, and I look, and it's birds. They're flapping, and they're running on the water at the same time.
And usually when we saw the birds, we saw a whale.
I'm still convinced, because I'm watching these birds run on the water, and I have no idea what they were, but they're running on the water, and then I see an orca, and the bird disappears. I'm convinced the orca ate the bird. Tiffany's not so sure, but I see bird, I see orca, I suddenly don't see bird. I'm thinking the orca ate the bird. But these birds are running on the water, and I was looking for Michael to ask him what about these birds, because it's crazy. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw that orca eat that bird. And then we saw the seals, and one seal came really close to the side of the ship, and I'm trying to figure out what he was doing, because we weren't super far from the land, but land was a good distance away. And about 3 or 4 minutes later, I figured out what the seal was doing, because a whole pot of orcas went by. So I'm pretty sure he was running from them.
That they may be puffins. That's what I was thinking.
Okay, if puffins flap and run on the water at the same time, then that's what I saw. I'd never seen a bird do that. And can an orca eat a puffin? I guess. I mean, I'm telling you, that orca ate that bird.
Snack.
Huh?
And be a snack.
Bird? Orca? No bird. Where did they think the bird went? I didn't see him fly off. Okay. But I saw a whale. And he came up.
Now you can look at puffins.
Now I'll have to look and see if I can find videos of puffins and see if they were. I mean, they weren't super close to the side of the ship, so I couldn't even get a real good look at them, even through the binoculars. Just I could see that they were flapping and running.
Orca put him in his tummy.
That is what I am thinking happened. I'm thinking he had a snack. I didn't actually see him eat it, but bird, orca, no bird. That's the conclusion I have come to, is that orca had a snack.
And like I said, usually if we saw the birds, it wasn't too long after we would see spray for...
Well, the whales don't bother the birds. Remember, the spray is the whales.
Yeah.
Orcas don't spray. They just pop up and eat birds. And apparently chase the seals. Because those seals were going somewhere really quick. And then a whole pot of orcas go by. Because at that point, there was 6, 7, 8, we were counting like 8 orcas coming up and breaking the surface all at the same time. So we know there was multiple orcas because they were all up at the same time. And I didn't get to see it, but Tiffany saw a gray whale come up and do that, like you see on the videos where they come up and they flop out of the water like that. I don't know exactly what it's called. She got to see that.
3 times.
The one time I'm out of the cabin doing something, that's what she sees. And you wonder why we didn't leave the cabin? That's why.
Western greavies, maybe. They dance and run on the water.
I said I'll have to look up both of those, and there's bound to be some videos on it and compare it to what I saw. But yeah, but she gets to see whales jump out. Though I did see a gray whale's tail. He straight up had his tail all the way out of the water, and I got to see that. So that was we saw so much stuff.
Yes.
And you just see it, and you feel like a little kid. I mean, we're just excited. We're banging on the balcony, yelling, we see whales. I'm pretty sure the neighbors were like, damn, they're at it again.
But I did notice every time, look, there he is.
The neighbors
would all come out.
They'd all come out. I guess they didn't want to stay out in the cold. But Tiffany are out there hollering at whales and hollering at birds. And yeah.
Not really hollering, but we got really excited.
I'm pretty sure we were loud.
We were.
I am pretty sure we were loud. We might have been the annoying cabin mates when we were seeing whales. I hate to say it.
Yeah.
We try to be the respectful ones, but boy, we got excited. And when we get excited, sometimes we get loud. And we were excited. But highly recommend Alaska. That's really the best I can say where it is completely worth it. We saw amazing things. We went to amazing places, got to do amazing adventures. I just can't say enough good stuff. If you haven't gone, go.
Yes, definitely.
If you're wondering if it's worth it, it is. And if you get a chance, take it. Absolutely take it. And if you have a cruise booked and you're fixing to go there, I think you're absolutely going to love it. I think you are absolutely going to. If you like that kind of stuff, you just be blown away. And remember, you're on the inside passage, so it's not like you're seeing mountains with snow on it that are miles away. These things are right there on the sides of the ship. I mean, they feel like you're there, right there. Sometimes you almost feel like you're going down a wall. They're on both sides of the ship. They're so close. Completely worth it.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of times you can see the shoreline, with naked eye.
But I was scanning the shoreline with binoculars looking for moose and bear.
Yeah, I looked for moose. I really wanted to see a moose, and I didn't get to see a moose this time. So I'll see a moose next time.
Yes.
They say the end of the year, the end of the season is the animal season. So we'll be back and go there.
Did you think the excursions were overbooked, priced, and worth the money? I'm looking at going in September.
Shore excursions in Alaska do cost more than other places do. That much is very, very true.
The cheapest one I saw was the train in Skagway, and that one was $150 a person.
Yeah, for the White Pass Railroad.
Yes.
Are they expensive? Yes. Can they be worth it? Yes. Like, for example, the White Pass Railroad. We didn't do it this time, but that's on the list of something we're going to do because we want to see it. I can't tell you 100% for sure until I actually do the excursion, compare to what it cost, and determine whether it was worth it or not. Because we didn't do excursions this time. Everything we did, we just did on our own. We created our own excursions. Well, if you need to go talk to him, that's fine. Our son has showed up here at the house. Oh, hold on. It's about to get dog loud for a second. Yeah, no, we'll always be completely honest about it. So everything right now is, yep, I can confirm prices are higher than Alaska and other places, but these excursions do fill up. People do take these excursions, and if they utterly sucked, excuse my language, but if they utterly sucked, people would stop taking them. So I guess that's probably another good way to look at that as well. But yeah, see, there you go. The White Pass Railroad is great. Did it in 2000. So yeah, they are good things. We just haven't done them yet to give you a 100% honest opinion. And I won't speak about something I haven't actually done and say, yes, this is good. Yes, this is bad. If I don't actually know. That's also true. I mean, the whole price of cruising is going up right now. To book a cruise has gone up. Excursions have gone up. They're trying to make up the money they lost. Between that and everything else, yeah, the cost of cruising right now has gone up, but the popularity of cruising continues to rise. You could be hard pressed to find, if you're looking for a specific cruise, a specific ship, in a very specific cabin, like even here through 2023, you could be hard pressed to find it if you're not really flexible. A lot of their bookings are up across the business right now. So all the prices have gone up. Unfortunately, it's becoming more and more popular. And if they can get more money, they're going to get more money. Wish it wasn't that case, but it is. But it absolutely is. But I think that we're going to wrap this up for today. If anybody else has any Alaska questions, comments, anything like that, definitely feel free to put them in the comment section below. During the replay, we'll answer everything we can. Yeah, you're right too. With the increased popularity of cruising, the increased bookings, it means people are paying those prices. And all the cruise lines are saying stuff like onboard spending amounts are up, and up. Yeah, so people are going to pay it. Prices are not going to go down as long as people keep paying. Thank you, Cody. Yeah, if you guys would, everybody in here, do me a favor and hit that like button for me. See how many likes we can get. Just let YouTube know that we're doing something that hopefully people want to watch. Yep, I got to get off of here too. Like I said, the son showed up. I'm sure he's got stuff that he wants to do and tell us and everything like that. But otherwise, we'll be on here talking about Alaska probably for hours more. More Alaska videos on the Discovery Princess will be out tomorrow. Starts with embarkation day, and they'll be going from that point on. What every cruiser wants will be back this Saturday. I know we missed last week, and we are going to be starting something new on Sunday. We're going to be trying something out. It's going to be some scenic cruising with some, real laid back, pretty music, I think, that goes along with the scenery. If you guys want to be checking that out on Sunday, it'll be starting this Sunday morning. So you guys let me know what you guys think about it. It's something we're going to continue, not continue. It's going to be popular, not popular. Just something new we're trying out with some of the video we took while we were in Alaska. We will be back next week for our next live show. And, of course, I want to thank absolutely everybody who came to our live show tonight. Thank you, everybody, for the comments, jumping in, sharing information. It's what we're all about, sharing cruising information, sharing the love of cruising so we can all have a better cruise experience. So I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, I hope everyone out there has yourself a really good night. Thank you for coming, and we will see you guys out on the high seas.